Finding mice to trap. Too black for the white.
Hey, yo! Hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Oh, jeez. I just downed half a bottle of San Pel and I'm ready to stream. Welcome to the broadcast on August 28th, 2025. The Atrioc stream is live, and I am happy to see you. Buy the Lotus thing for the 6 months. San Pel and raise hell. Is that the best message you've ever written in this chat? So we have probably 100,000 messages in this chat, and you might have just peaked. You might have just peaked with San Pel and raise hell, dude. I made you laugh 2 days ago. Fuck off. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Easy does it. I'm sorry. I didn't write that down on who made me laugh list. Touchy. Hey, Atrioc. I'm almost out of college. I was wondering if you think getting an MBA and taking on the debt is worth it. You want my opinion? No. I don't know your life. I don't fucking know your life, but no. That was my gut reaction is no for right now. Because everyone's doing. Honestly, I saw a really compelling argument recently. Who is this from? I'd love to. It was somebody. It might have been like a CEO or something. I don't remember who it was. Take it with a grain of salt. But the argument was that even if you really feel like grad school is the right choice, and again, don't take no advice from this. Make no changes from this. This is just something to think about, okay? Even if you think it's the right choice, higher education and grad school in particular is being disrupted and changed so rapidly right now because of AI that it might be good to wait a year or two or, wait a little bit for it. Because right now, you don't even know if you're going to get any value out of your degree. In that, like, you're going to go and then you're probably going to cheat on a lot of things. And then the admin doesn't know what they're doing. All the teachers are using AI, but they don't really know how to incorporate it in their... It's just like... it's riskier. But again, it's not for everything. I think for an MBA, there's a risk, man. There's a risk. It certainly is a time to be alive. I mean, I want to talk about that with the happiness curve. Remind me to talk about it. That's the thing I want to talk about afterwards. I do have to talk about the Nvidia earnings, and I'm going to do it relatively soon. Like within 15 minutes, I'm going to start because they need it to be a clip tonight. It happens recently, and we wanted to go turn around fast. You heard it here first, folks. Streamer says quit school, play games for the next 2 years instead. That's right. Yeah, was I not clear? Did I not make that clear? And 2 years is the minimum. I think you really need to put in some more. I mean, listen, Silksong comes out in like 5 days. Don't be worried about an MBA, bro. Worry about an MB play in the game Silksong. 2 years ago, what? Can I still take on debt? Yeah, you know what you should do? If you like debt, just take on 50 to 60K in debt a year. And then just play Silksong. Like, take out a loan and then use it on Uber Eats or whatever while you play. So, like, that way you get the experience. You're going to get a degree. You won't get a degree, but what's the worth, You get Silksong at least. There still isn't an official price for Silksong. Do you have any price predictions? Predictions? No. Probably the same as the last one. I assume it'll cost them. What does Hollow Knight cost? $20? Probably costs $20. But what I would prefer is if it cost $5,000. So that way, like, only I could play it. Like, only streamers can make it justified. And then my viewership would be crazy. Because no one's going to pay $5,000. But they want to see what happens. Hollow Knight was 15. Dare I say it? They could charge 20. There's been some inflation. Since Hollow Knight came out in the Stone Age, there's been some inflation, bro. When Hollow Knight came out, a home cost a nickel. You could get a car and a home and send your kids to college for 25 cents. And now we're in a whole different era. I'm so fine with 30, 40. Whoa. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy it. Whatever price they put, I'm going to fucking buy it. Literally whatever price they put, I'm going to buy it. I mean, unless it's actually over $5,000. But 30, I feel like one of the things that, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that made Hollow Knight an instant indie classic was how much value you got for the price. People really loved that Hollow Knight cost $15, I thought it was $20, but $15. And that's one of the things they mentioned a lot. They people, I think it's one of the reasons that made it so enduring and popular and big. You could give it a chance. It's a weird game. It's a little different. It's a little off-putting. Maybe you don't, but you could give it a chance because it wasn't so expensive. So I would be wary for them to do a much higher price. I guess they could if they really want to make the cash, the squeeze. Plus, they're going to do a DLC. I think they should just do $20, maybe 25. It's not like the other. I played and never finished it, but still feel like I got my money's worth. Bro, I don't understand this. I don't understand. It depends on how early you quit, actually. I could see someone playing the beginning and bouncing. But I can't see someone playing 3/4 and being like, all right. I can't see that. But maybe I'm fucking, I don't know. I don't get it. This is when I was working 70-hour weeks. Now you work 80, huh? That's when you had the easy life working construction. Now you have a hard job working big A. We don't mess around here. Ludwig. Dude, Ludwig's playthrough of Hollow Knight it's blasphemy. It's fucking blasphemy. It's blasphemy, dude. He had none of the, he never had the moment that I had with Mantis Lords. It never clicked. And at no point did he go, oh wait, I get it and I like this game. He just never, shit felt racist to me. Low key. Low key. Well, something about it, dude. Something about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Something about it. It just felt, it felt problematic how he didn't enjoy it. He said Hornet with a hard H. That's what I don't know about that. Spread the word on Blue Sky, folks. Cancel Lud for his playthrough of Hollow Knight. Actually, someone else maybe crash out. Not crash out, I'm joking, but Librarian posted a clip of Northern Lion. Silksong Rage Bait. Did you see this?
We will not be playing Silksong. We will be, regardless of its reviews, we'll be being indifferent to Silksong. And the reason is, I hate going back for stuff. I hate when I get to my car and then I forget about my car keys. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Now I got to go back into the house. They made a whole game. Apollo, did you see this? They made a whole game about getting to your car, but you don't have car keys. So now you got to go into your basement and get a fucking pogo stick that lets you jump up to the shelf where you've got your car keys. Only, oh, wait, your garage door opener is inside something that you need to become really tiny to get into. You have to get into your crawl space in order to be able to get the garage door opener.
That sounds fun.
And then you go to click it, but there's no batteries. Oh, and to get the batteries, you got to get the...
Loki, this was your take? Yeah, this is my exact take when I played Hollow Knight to begin with. And now I'm enlightened. I'm a higher being. I'm on a different level, okay? And now I look down on this and I scoff a bit.
Lock that you got to use the pogo stick to get a key that goes into a lock that unlocks, that gets the batteries, but you don't have the screwdriver to unlock the back of the garage door opener to put the batteries in. So there's something you got to use a shovel.
We don't understand is that is life. I figured it out. Life is just finding the different boots for things you need. Okay? Before you get a job, you have to go learn how to do the job. You get the fucking job boots. I had to get the marketing boots to go work the marketing job. Okay? Everything you do in life is just getting the right boots. If you want to have a loving, long-lasting relationship, you have to build yourself into the type of person who can have that. You have to get the love boots. Okay? You have to get the self-reflection boots in order to be able to improve on your... These are things you have to do. So the Metroidvania is not something different or foreign. It is actually so very human and expressive of what our lives are like. Okay? And I'm very excited for it. And I had the same take, and I promise people, if they just give it a chance, it actually is just a good game straight up through and through. Maybe NL tried it and doesn't like it. I don't know if he's tried it. Listen, I had the same take before I played a Metroidvania. Actually, I don't even like all Metroidvanias. I just like Hollow Knight. I thought the last Metroid game was fine. I thought it was fine. You know, I didn't hate it. It was fine. It was fun. But it wasn't like... But Hollow Knight is an incredible game regardless. It's just an incredible game. Metroid was good. Metroid Dread. Yeah, Dread. I enjoyed Dread. I played the full thing on stream. I had a good time. I rarely, I'll play a full game on stream and beat it. It took me 5 days in a row of playing it. Viewership was like in the tank, dude. It was, so I must have enjoyed it, but it wasn't like in my top 50. It was fine. And Hollow Knight's different, bro. It's just different. It's just straight up different. I forgot how hard Hollow Knight is. Just casually beat P5 on stream one day ago after fucking 4 years. I'm ready, dude. I'm fucking ready. I'm locked in. Where does Hollow Knight rank? Top 10? I don't know about that, dude. Top 10. I played so many games in my day. I played so many games, bro. You can't just throw a game in top 10. No, but Hollow Knight's an incredible game. That's just the fact. It's just an incredible game. I remember NL saying he thought it was a 9 out of 10, but people were mad he didn't say it was a 10 out of 10. That's just chatters, bro. Chatters are dumb. I mean, did he actually play it through and call it a 9 out of 10? Here's the thing is, I'm going to say it, dude. Sometimes I feel like people play these games. Like, it annoys me if you watch a content creator. I'm not talking about anyone. You watch a content creator play a game on stream. They're rushing through it. They clearly aren't even having that much fun. They don't even beat it sometimes. And they go, yeah, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like, it's so obvious you're pandering because you know the chat wants to hear that, but you didn't actually like it. You didn't like, just say you're fucking 5 out of 10 or say what you really think. Say it. I know you don't mean it. I know you don't mean it, bro. XQC listening to the new JID album. Do you have that clip? That was one of the funniest clips. Dude, XQC is the greatest music reviewer of all time. He's the greatest music reviewer of all time. He was just clicking through the album and then clicking through the song to like the chorus for 3 seconds and be like, eh. He probably got like six of the total 14 tracks, listened to 30 seconds total of music and went like, kind of mid. Guys, it's not Squeaks chat. You can't just say sex flirt. that's not Squeaks chat. That's not. That's literally how I rate new songs. I mean, he's the man for you. It's DJ Toenail. Did you see J-Reg's video on NIMBYs? Saw a part of it. He did say one of the funniest lines I ever heard. He said, I'm NIMBY in my own backyard and YIMBY in everyone else's. Which I thought was very, 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 very fucking funny. And I do like that guy. I think he's just a hoot. But the video was really long, and so I didn't watch it. I was too busy skipping through like XQC. Teardown stream coming soon? No, probably not. I got Silksong coming soon. I'm not doing a ton of gaming until Silksong, which is in 1 week from today. But I might play that Is My Seat Taken game, because that looked really fun. Multiplayer teardown? Sheesh. What does YIMBY stand for? It means yes in my backyard. Basically, you know, he was saying, I don't even want to explain it. Music Man Oliver, thank you for the prime. Are you done with Peak? We might do another group stream. I'm trying to get this Bros vs. Pros hooked up. It's like wrangling cats, bro. I got to get Hera and Squeaks and Lud and Stans. And Stans won't stream weekends. And he won't stream after 2 p.m. And Hera's gone on some days. And Ludwig's fucking... he got to cram 50 sponsors in to pay for his drug addiction. And so it's just like I got to fucking... I gotta try and set it up, but Squeaks is just over available. Yeah, I mean Squeaks is pretty easy, I guess. I mean, whenever Squeaks is not streaming, he's just playing games offline on Steam, so it's not like it'd be hard to rope him in. With some video gaming. What was your last 10 out of 10 album? I don't know. I'm a fucking millennial hip-hop fan. That's probably like fucking acid rap. I don't remember my last 10 out of 10? Like actually 10 out of 10? I can't think of anything after acid rap that I thought was 10 out of 10. You think acid rap is 10 out of 10? I do for me. I've already had this conversation with people who I care more about. I think no. Yeah, it's 10 out of 10 to me, all right? Okay? I've already had it just hit at the right time in my life, you know? Acid rap was when I was getting in a fucking beat up Ford Focus to drive from Colorado, my parents' house, to California with no plan to try and make it in esports. And I just played acid rap the whole way. And I was like hustling, and it was just a great album. It's just perfect. It just reminds me of that time in my life, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a vibe. You've been waiting a while for another 10 out of 10? Yeah, probably. I mean, I've liked a lot of music, but that was my last 10 out of 10. That was like one I would listen to every song on it. You listen to it for 16 hours? Probably, yeah. Hope you're having a good day. I played Melee for the first time. I thought it was amazing. Thanks for opening me to the game. How the fuck did I open you to Melee today? I haven't talked about Smash Melee on this stream in at least a year, bro. How the fuck did today you decided to fucking... Not that I haven't. I'm a huge supporter of Melee, and I've done plenty of Melee content on this stream, and I I wore a GameCube shirt yesterday, if that did it. Your older videos. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Melee's a great game. Melee's a great game. Hey, Shark, I got into stocks for the first time in my life, and now I'm even more stressed all the time. Okay, this is a classic young man phase where you get into stocks and you get a Robinhood account or something, and you just start buying a few things, and then you check it all the time. And you wake up early to check it when market opens, even though it's like you got like 9 shares, but you're like just fucking checking. And it's not, you'll go past it, bro. It's no good use of your time. You're not beating the guys on Wall Street. You're not figuring it out. You got to find a better way to buy and hold and ignore it. But yeah, whatever. Just be careful with the money, because the way you get out of that phase is usually by you make a big stupid bet and you lose a lot of money. How it happens to most people is you make a big stupid bet and you lose a lot of money, and then you go, oh, I realize that oops. And so just be careful with that. Guy who gets into stocks to fix his sleep schedule by checking when market opens could actually work, bro. You're waking up at 6 a.m. every day. So you can be there for East Coast bell. It's actually not a bad fucking idea. Atrioc, I rewatched Slowly Than All. Suddenly, back then Nvidia was 6% of S&P 500, and now it's 8%. Don't try to get me to talk about Nvidia early. If that's your fucking game. I don't even care if you're complimenting a great video of mine. Don't try to fucking lure me into the trap, okay? Speaking of that video, though, which I think is aged beautifully. That's all I'll say. I'm very proud of that video. I think it's aged beautifully. I think it will continue to age beautifully. I think that video, everything in it came true or will come true. And one part of that I wanted to discuss was this. So in that video, I talked specifically about how Florida and Texas are extremely risky for real estate. And this article was fucking today. Florida's housing market was once red hot. Now it's one of the coldest in the country. And it just goes through all the declining sales, falling housing prices in Florida. This is like verbatim what I'm saying fucking 8 months ago. Lots of for sale signs around. Some of you live in Florida? Yeah, dude, I have heard. I was again reading Melody right, but yeah, I've heard that it's like there's the beginning of panic and then a little bit past that. It's like people are like, oh boy, it's not selling, huh? What if we drop the price just a little bit? I'm still not selling, huh? Oh boy, a lot of for sale signs on the street. What if we drop the price a little bit more? And it's just like, it's like the gully scene in Big Short. It's just like everyone's selling and no one's buying. I don't understand why the stock market has an opening time. Like with modern tech, why isn't it just open all the time? It's actually a good question. People your age, I'm assuming young, I'm assuming 20s, are asking this nonstop. And so a lot of the exchanges are trying to shift to a 24-hour model. They're trying to do it. Especially the non-NYSE, because they want to compete with the NYSE. And it's because crypto trades 24 hours and everyone's gotten used to it. The reason you wouldn't want to do it is because, first of all, the people who do this professionally have to sleep eventually. Like they have to be able to monitor the market and they have to be able to sleep. And secondly, is nobody wants, how do I put this? Like, if there's a set number of hours in the day, here, if I could draw this. I actually think this drawing will be helpful, but maybe I'm wrong. It'll just be lines. You know, like if this is the 24-hour cycle and you can only trade in this window, well, that makes this part very, here, I'm going to use like, pretend like it's water. It's very liquid. There's a lot of activity here. So you can always get a buy or a sell. Things are buying and selling. Everything is compressed. But if you get rid of these barriers, then you end up with a lot of periods where there's no buyers or sellers. Things aren't as liquid. And in fact, you may be able to have like abuses of this system. So let's say you wake up at 3 a.m. when there's no traders and you can dump a bunch of shares or something and drastically move the price because there's not a lot of liquidity. There's just a more chance of being able to do fucked things, to be able to move the price with small amounts of stock. You really want to have a very liquid market so you're getting accurate prices. Is why. Okay? If that makes sense. But people like you are demanding it, and it may happen, regardless of what I say or whether the benefits would be. Because people want 24 hours, baby. Not even BlackRock is buying up the houses in Florida and Texas. I think people have a misconception about corporations buying housing. And they think that no matter what, it will work out for them. In fact, it can be very foolish on their end. First of all, they don't have a big of percent as you think they do. But when they buy these houses, because they expect the price to go up, they expect to be able to, or the rental price to be able to go up. If they buy, a bunch of developments, they want to be able to raise the rent every year. But if they notice that no one's buying and, maybe rents are falling because no one can afford it, then in fact, they're losing money. They've lost a bunch of money and they're panicking. They have to unload and sell. I mean, some of these corporations are unloading their stock of housing because they're scared. They're spooked. So, yeah, I mean, just worth noting. At least in a place like Florida, man, I would hate to be a real estate guy. Spartan Cool Code, David, the 37 months. Can I buy a house with my 37 months of equity in Atrioc? Abso-fucking-lutely. You march down to the nearest broker, and you tell them you're a 37-month Atrioc sub, and they'll say, "Sir, we've got our finest mansion for you." They'll probably bow, but to be kind, say, "Stand up. We're all equals here," even though you know you're better. Even though you know you're better because you're a 37-month Atrioc sub, be like, "Hey, we're all equals here. It doesn't matter." And then he'll give you probably at least a fucking 5-6 bedroom mansion. Be humble about it. Act like you've been there before. What was I had something else actually important to say, but then what do you think about people who buy investment properties, like individuals, one or two? Maybe. Here's the problem: is a lot of people buy a place thinking they're going to Airbnb it out and make a bunch of money, and then when Airbnb isn't as easy as they thought, or it dries up, or it doesn't fill all the slots they had, they end up still having to pay the mortgage. But not getting enough money from rentals to make that mortgage up. And then they're panicking. And then that means they have to sell at a loss. So it really depends, man. If you're in like the perfect area for it, maybe, but There's a long list of people who thought they could make a bunch of money running Airbnbs that have found it to be not that. Why don't you buy? What do you mean? Listen, my money's in gold, baby. GOLD. I'm not putting in no damn properties. What am I, a landlord? What if I became a landlord, but I gave free rent to all my chatters? We could all live in the same apartment complex. Until I see your pile of gold, I won't believe it. This is Quack's plan to get me to take my gold out of out of shares and into physical gold so he can murder me and rob me. He would like me to put it all buried in my backyard so that he can fucking kill me, dig it up, and have no paper trail. I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it. What? I had an Uber driver who spent the entire ride telling me I could pay my rent by attaching a promissory note to my lease. Because the lease represents a line of credit they gave me equal to the value of the lease. At one point, he pulled out an AI assistant to prove his point because I questioned it. There's so much to unpack here. Wait, is he saying that, like, your landlord asks for your rent and then you give him an IOU attached to your lease? And that's legal and good? And he was telling you this while you're in an Uber ride that you... And then because you said, are you sure about that? He brought out ChatGPT? It's kind of fire. Did you see the... apparently, you know, South Park's always been able to have some shifts in the culture, but apparently people were finally seeing the downside of ChatGPT after this. Pretty good. I think they still got it after all these years, man. They're still in tune. Armin Whale, thank you for the 5 months. Opinion on grad school for CS. I did data. Don't ask me. Don't ask me, bro. I don't want to. I feel bad even. People, you got your own plans. I don't want to give you your plans for school and for... You should go to grad school for Counter-Strike. You should ask ChatGPT. You should ask ChatGPT. That's what I would say. I would say that. Listen, I'm skeptical, but it has worked for many people and it could work for you. But just realize that, like, I don't know. Other people have had the idea of, like, wow, this job market's tough. I'll just ride it out in college. And sometimes you can just end up with a lot more debt. Like, and then nothing really changes. I get it can happen that way. It can also not happen that way. We don't know. Just don't become a streamer. It's the hardest job around. That's what I'm fucking saying. That's what I'm fucking saying. That's the last thing you want to do. God, the burden on your shoulders will be immense. You'll make you wish you joined the Marines. I'll tell you that. Every day I wake up and I wake up in my bed and I pray that I open my eyes and I'm in the middle of an active war zone fighting. And then I wake up and I realize I'm a streamer and I'm like, oh no, it's fucking harder than I thought. It's like way harder. Um, mm, as someone who joined the Marines, that shit was a cakewalk compared to streaming. Thanks, Madman Chris, for backing up my worldview. Hardest job. It is. What is this? What is this? What is this emote? Hardest job? I only see it as a text. Wait, who's the image? Is that me? Is that me in like a Marines outfit? That's funny. It's me as a Marine with a spoon. Hardest job. That's powerful stuff. That's art. That is art. It is the hardest job. I'm so glad you guys all agree collectively. Okay, talk about Nvidia here in 2 minutes. Was there other things I wanted to say before the Nvidia earnings presentation? Because it is a big dill pickle. I did want to say, I mean, this is like pretty minor, but there's this guy. Christopher Waller. Pull it up. This guy. This guy is the current front runner, I believe, to be the next Jerome Powell. And he actually is born like this with low pixel face. This is a real affliction. He has low pixel face. This is a high resolution photo of a low pixel man. Anyway, Christopher Waller is likely in the current running to be our next Fed chair. And this is because he is nonstop pandering to Trump by constantly saying how we need more rate cuts. You know, we got to cut rates. Has been said, like he just keeps saying we need to cut rates, and so that's why he's considered to be the perfect choice for this role, because he does what Trump wants. And one thing he said kind of spooked me though today, which he said he is back on team transitory regarding inflation. Let's see if I can get this exact quote. Yeah, here we go.
As CFOs juggle more
I don't want the ad with it. I just want the actual.
and say hello to a simplified product.
Oh God, I don't want the ad with it, right? I just want. This was 2 hours ago, bro. Yeah, he's pro-trans. Yeah, she's saying he's on team transitory because he's pro-trans rights. You guys figured it out. No, he said.
Don't worry about those prices. If there's any pass-through, there'll be some. Once they pass through, it's over. And it won't continue to.
It is funny to have our next Fed chair be speaking at the Economic Club of Miami during a real estate meltdown, talking about how everything's great. We need rate cuts. Everything's great, and we need rate cuts.
Like that. So, based on that, long-standing central bank wisdom is you just look through it. Just like if you increase the sales tax in every state, that would raise the price of what everybody has to pay. But no one would say, oh, that's going to just cause inflation to go taking off. And I doubt very much that workers would go to their bosses.
This is him explaining why tariffs will raise prices, but not in like an inflationary way. It'll be a one-time thing, so we can still cut rates.
And say, hey, the city just raised my sales tax. I need a raise. I don't think your boss will pay any attention to you. So, but it's weird with tariffs. That's immediately what people start saying. Oh, tariffs, prices will go up and it'll be more expensive. I got to ask for a raise. Well, you don't do it on the sales tax. You don't do it if your income tax goes up or any other taxes go up.
Isn't it crazy to have a guy telling regular working people that, yeah, your stuff's going to get more expensive, but you can't ask for a raise? Yeah, everything you buy is going to be more expensive, but because it's a one-time thing, it's like you're not going to ask for a raise. We're not going to have inflation based on that. Just look through it.
What is it special about tariffs that makes you want to act differently? So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm back on team transitory. We'll see.
So team transitory, that's a reference to the first mistake Jerome Powell made in 2021. We all remember 2021, NFTs, good times, and massive, massive crippling inflation. Like 10% inflation. Like really, really high inflation that caused a huge amount of distress and probably led to Joe Biden getting destroyed. I mean, his speech didn't help, but so anyway, they called it team transitory because at the time in 2021, Jerome Powell said, well, I think this inflation is going to be transitory, so we don't need to raise rates. So they were very, very slow to raising rates to fight that inflation because by the time they realized it wasn't transitory and then the inflation was sticky and was continuing to be a problem, then they had to raise rates really fast and they were very late to it. And so now we are 4 years later and inflation still has never gotten back down to 2%. And we have a big price surge coming from tariffs. And he's like, I'm back on team transitory, as if like this is all going to go away. We haven't even. So I find it all to be so insane. This guy really will not care if all of the prices of the things we buy go fucking through the roof. Now maybe he's doing it to get the job and he'll be more level-headed, but I'm kind of sick of that being my only theory. I'm kind of sick of that being my only theory, bro. I don't like to have to be like, oh, these guys are just crazy till they get the job. I thought Powell was thinking about tariffs being transitory too. Yeah, he did. I mentioned this. But Powell's not at least as hard of a rate cut advocate as this guy. Even Mr. Wonderful said in an interview today that rate cuts will lead to hyperinflation. Mr. Wonderful said that? That's out of character. Mr. Wonderful hyperinflation. Where did he say this? Dude, Mr. Wonderful. I don't care what he said, bro. I can't find it, but his profile picture is him holding up two like $100,000 watches to cover his eyes. What a fucking cartoon character. What a cartoon character, bro. I don't think. And yeah, all his fucking recent things are about watches, honestly. Him trying to shill watches. So I don't know. Maybe he said it, maybe he didn't, but let's see. What's this? O'Leary warns of hyperinflation if Trump sets interest rates. Okay, that's a little different. I mean, this is true. This is today. Yeah, just to be clear, this is not just if the Fed cuts. This is if Trump personally is setting interest rates. If the Fed is no longer independent and Donald Trump can just raise or lower them at will, then it's real trouble. And I do agree. Yeah. I mean, that's not just, that's the Turkey example that I showed with Erdogan. But you could find that for many countries. Once the president or the leader, supreme leader, can control the central bank, hyperinflation is soon to follow. Like, they didn't make central banks independent for no reason. It's like a lesson learned from history. The reason you had to do it is because it's the only way to get the stability of the currency. You could probably get them on Lemonade Stand. Do we have some guests? We got some guests coming up for Lemonade Stand. We're kind of powering through on just us right now, but then we have a lot of guests. Yeah, I think a really good amount. We have some good guests. We've been working on it, and I'm excited about all of them, to be honest. It's our first guest is a 3-part discussion between Mr. Beast, Xi Jinping, and the ghost of Joe Biden, who will have died by the time we record. But we'll come back for it will be a fucking powerful fucking, and the ghost of Kiev as well. Yeah, exactly. Plus Team Cherry will be there, but only talking about, interest rates. It's going to be Team Cherry for an interest rate discussion, and it's going to be Xi Jinping for a Silk Song discussion, actually. So we get people out of their comfort zone. We mix things up. Aiden will not be attending any of the guests. Aiden will not be there. Just me, Doug, and Xi Jinping. Mao, Lenin, Max debate to follow. I assume you meant Marx, but it's way more funny to think I got the ghost of Mao, Lenin, and my friend Max. The big three, sort of to discuss just this dude named Max. Max Verstappen. Chairman Mao, Vladimir Lenin, and Max Verstappen are going to discuss economic theory. Black Boy Max. It's going to be good. It's going to be fucking good. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wet. It's going to be wild. All right, let me get this PowerPoint up here. Now, the problem is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PowerPoints open. And this will auto pick the oldest opened one. So I need to save them. Save this one as return from saved. And this one save as and this one is superheroes, and this one is Cracker Barrel woke. Woker Barrel, we'll call it. Woker Barrel V1 already exists. Okay, Woker Barrel V2. I guess my naming scheme is fucking locked in. Okay, perfect. Use your Halloween costume idea. Dress up as a U.S. Marine. What if for Halloween, I dress up in full U.S. Marine costume, and then I just talk about how easy my life is? Wow. Finally, one day where my job's not so hard. Wow, this is so easy. And then I film it, and we try to get it on TikTok. That'd be good. And I walk around and I talk to other veterans, and I tell them how easy their job is compared to streaming content on the internet. I think my dad will be cool if I steal some Valor. I mean, sometimes, do you guys are any of you content creators? Even like on TikTok or Instagram, do you upload content? Some of you, right? Do you ever go to a restaurant and ask them if they have a content creator discount for your service? Because I do it a lot. I always say like, oh, this is the bill. I'm a Twitch streamer. So, here's my account. And then wonder if you guys have any sort of discount for what I've done for the country. And usually they'll say thank you for your service and they'll salute, but you did take a military discount, little bro? Okay, this is a mistelling of the story. I had until, I don't know, it's 27, 26, 27, 28, something around that. I had a military ID because I grew up on a military base, okay? And I still bank with the military because they have the best banks. And so whenever I'd go places, I would pay with the USAA military credit card or the debit card, or I would have a military ID. And I would often get thanked for my service. And sometimes you get tired of doing the whole explanation of being like, oh, actually, and then they feel weird. You say, oh, thanks, and you leave. You just say, oh, you're welcome. Okay? Or you just fucking move on. All right? Do you salute back? They don't actually salute. They'll just say a lot. Like if you're boarding an airplane, the lady doing your ticket or whatever will say, thank you for your service. And I don't go, oh, I'm not going to hold up the line and be like, actually, I didn't serve. So you misread this. Okay? You just, when I stand and I full salute. Is that only a U.S. thing? Like I don't have that's all in Europe? Yeah, it's not a European thing. Yeah, that's correct. But if the plane comes over, they'll come to you for help. I'm Mark Wahlberg style, bro. I'd be a problem if they try to take over the plane. I'd use my hitman skills. But anyway, so sometimes you get thanks for the service, but sometimes they give you a discount. Sometimes they'll do a 15% discount at checkout. Atrioc famously thinks he can figure out how to fly a plane after the third crash. I don't remember saying this. But I stand by it. I don't remember saying this, but I immediately stand by it. I think if somehow I couldn't die, 3 crashes, I would get it. 3 crashes, I would get it. No, not Microsoft Flight Sim. What I'm saying is like, okay, let's say the pilot of a plane dies and there's chaos on the plane and they go, Atrioc, you got to fly the plane. You got to fly the plane. And so I rush to the front and I get in the cockpit and I throw on the headset and they're like, and I'm like, Mayday, 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 I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, all right, we're going to talk you through it. I'd probably crash the first time. But if I get to rewind, try it again, I'd probably crash the second time. And I'd probably even crash the third time. But what I'm saying is after 3, I would get it. And I think that's true. I think I believe that. I think by the 4th time, Groundhog Day, I'm landing the plane. And honestly, I could probably do it in 2, the amount I think about it. Because they're talking me through it, bro. It's probably very simple. Like, they're just going to be like, okay, here's all you do. You just put the throttle up, flick the switch, bada bing, bada. Go get a beer. You're a pilot, bro. Your job's not hard as streaming. And then I'd be like, oh, fucking chill then. And I would go get a beer and then we'd land it. Throttle up for landing. I'm not going to land lame. You think I'm going to try and little touchdown? I'm going to fucking gun it. I'm going to wicked. Probably peel out when I land and do a fucking spin. Okay, I'm going to drift the plane. What if air traffic control is dodo walling you and then you decide to open a YouTube video on how to land and a 30-second unskippable ad plays? I guess that would be bad. What do you, what do you want to say? It's funny to be like, not that the line gets cut or whatever, but they're dodo walling me. Like air traffic control can hear me screaming Mayday. They know I'm the only hope to get the plane down, and they're dodo walling me? Why? Why would they? Make that a YouTube Premium ad? That would be a very funny ad for YouTube Premium. Except it's kind of weird about like it's a plane crash. No, I don't think it'd be that good of an ad, actually. As a professional search and rescue pilot, you got this, Big A. It's not that hard. Enough said. I'm sorry, but enough said. I'm sorry, but like the fucking professional is here, and they're telling me that I got this, and I really think I pick it up rather quickly. As a pilot, I also agree. There we go. Hop on Flight Sim. Let's see it. No, Flight Sim is not. You gotta be in a real plane, okay? It's like you saying I could be a streamer. I played Streaming Simulator. You know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta be live, bro. Do you understand? I can't tell you how to do it until you're live. You should join Lud on his next year. No, I don't think so. As a Twitch streamer, drops the Twitch. There needs to be lives at stake. Yeah, exactly. There needs to be lives at stake. Did any of you volunteer to be passengers in my first time as a pilot? Okay? I'll be the pilot, and we'll just figure it out live. And then your guys' lives being at stake will motivate me to put my best effort in. And then I'll clutch up. Do we get your survive 3 deaths clause? No, you guys will be cycled in for the next. I'm going to have 3 separate planes. And after the first one goes down, I'll try again on the second one. So ideally, you'd want to be in the 3rd plane based on my odds, but did you watch the rehearsal? I haven't. I heard it's about this, though. Does he learn how to fly in the same way? Does he commandeer a plane and then get taught by the air traffic control how to land it? Are you playing Is This Seat Taken? Maybe. I have to do this NVIDIA presentation, and I'm going to do it right about meow, said the cat. Yeah, okay, let's fucking do it. Wait, I need one more picture. And then right after this, I want to talk about the happiness curve. Okay? I want to talk about the happiness curve. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Okie dokie artichoke. Please watch this TikTok about the legitimacy of the Nvidia China sale. I'm talking about that right now. Okay. Yesterday, afternoon, after the closing bell of the stock exchange, Nvidia reported earnings. Here, wait, we'll get a little music song. Okay, listen, 4 times a year, our GOAT, our glorious king, Jensen Huang, comes out and does Nvidia earnings reports. Okay? 4 quarters, 4 times a year, Nvidia updates the stock market in the world on how well it's doing. And it's really important, and it just happened a few hours ago. Okay? And we've talked about this before. The entire U.S. economy, and by extension, everyone's retirement in the world, kind of rests on these earnings reports. Nvidia has to constantly keep beating and raising their profit estimates to signal to the market that everything's good, they're making a lot of money, they're growing, and we all can rely on them. So they reported yesterday, and what was the result? Are we okay? Is the entire U.S. economy still being held up by the gigatrad strength of Jensen Huang? The answer is pretty much yes. Pretty much yes, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dive into. Okay? So high level, revenue, $46.7 billion in revenue, up 56% year over year. Pretty big. These kind of charts are really good for getting an idea of the health of a company, by the way. Sort of shows where all the revenue's coming from and then where the costs go. Now, one thing you'll notice is that for most companies, this red bar or these red bars are a lot bigger. Most companies don't have this big, fat, nice green margin right here. That's the profit. 33.9 billion gross profit, 28.4 billion operating profit. These are massive margins. Like some of the biggest in the world for a company of this size. And so they end up with a net profit of 26.4 billion. They keep 57% of what they make, which is pretty incredible. $26.4 billion in cash left over. This is still a really profitable, fast-growing, powerful company. Don't get me wrong. And this report was still growing and still good. So while the stock was down a little bit, and we'll explain why in a second, overall, the growth story is not dead or over or, any panic word. So Nvidia, they might have shrugged their shoulder a little bit, but they're still holding up the world, okay? That's the high level. Now, part of this was interesting. Now, again, when I worked at Nvidia, which probably ended right around here, and I started like 4 years before this, gaming, the part in light green here, gaming was the biggest segment of the business. It was a gaming company. Okay? Starting in Q2 of 24, data center, which is the AI chips, started to become massive. And by now, now gaming's like it's not even really relevant. I mean, it's a tiny chunk of how much the data center part of the business. The company is an AI company now. That being said, gaming was actually the surprise upside of this report. This data center growth of 41.4 billion was actually slightly under Wall Street expectations, which is why the stock market was a little jittery on this. Slightly under. It was expected 41.4 or whatever. It's 41.1. No real big deal. But gaming was a surprise outlier. It did really well for what they said. So they got a few, $1 billion more than they probably thought they were going to get for gaming. And largely that was because of Switch 2. If you guys don't know, Nvidia makes the hardware or the chip, the graphics chip for the Switch 2. And Switch 2 is selling like no consoles ever sold before. Despite having no games. The Switch 2 is selling better than the Switch 1, which is like the best-selling console ever. So, incredible, I guess. Good for them. Good 2 games, but it's doing shockingly well. So overall, like at a very high level, there's not much to worry about here. Nvidia's doing, they're doing what they usually do, which is like big profit, things are growing. The story of Nvidia for the past few years has been everyone wants to buy these AI chips and they keep buying more. But there's a little bit more under the hood that I want to get into because I think this is a very interesting earnings report. And I've listened to the whole thing and read a bunch of analysis on it. So the two sore spots, the two dangerous parts under the hood were, number one, the data center revenue and the whole AI story, and number two, China. Okay, and we're gonna cover both. So part one was data center. So like I said, gaming beat estimates. ProViz beat estimates. Automotive beat estimates. Data center, it didn't. Data center, it grew a little bit less than expected. And, you know, nothing terrible, nothing to worry about. But it's unusual because they make these estimates with the idea that they're going to beat them. That's what they've done in the past, and they've consistently always beaten their estimates. So to slow down a little bit, it gives the faintest hint that they're approaching a curved top. Instead of going hockey stick exponential up, it feels like they're approaching a curved top. Now, again, so minor. I don't want to overstate this, but it's just like it causes a little bit of a spook, just a little bit of a panic. Now, the second part of this, when you dive into data center, which is, again, where all the money is, like the whole NVIDIA story revolves around selling these AI chips for data centers. If you dive into this data center number, which was a little bit under expectations, it's that all of the money for NVIDIA's data center revenue is coming from very few customers. In fact, 39% of their revenue comes from two mystery customers. Now, they say mystery. It's actually not a mystery. It's actually not a mystery to figure out who can afford to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on GPUs. And so, again, if you remember this meme image of the US economy riding on NVIDIA's earnings, well, NVIDIA's earnings is kind of, based on this analysis from this recent earnings report, is kind of riding on these two guys. The CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, and the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, being willing to keep throwing hundreds of billions of dollars at, because these two guys, these two companies, Meta and Microsoft, are the big two mystery customers that make up, 40%. And if you add in Amazon, Google, and Tesla, it's like 50%. It's pretty much the majority of NVIDIA's revenue is coming from these few tech companies. So they have to not only keep spending how much they're spending, but grow more. For NVIDIA to grow, they have to say, we're not going to just spend 100 billion this year. We're going to spend 200 billion or three. They have to keep going up. So there's a bit of a key man risk. If even one of them, if even one CEO goes, you know what, we're going to cut back on AI spend, it would cripple NVIDIA's earnings, which would in turn cripple the S&P 500, which would in turn hurt the economy. You know what I'm saying? We're now getting so concentrated on the decisions of very few people, but didn't happen yet. So I just want to say that. The second part is the reaction to some of this shakiness would have been higher, but NVIDIA at the exact same time in this meeting announced one of the largest stock buybacks a company has ever done. They announced a $60 billion stock buyback, which, is a way for you to take your corporate money to juice your stock price. And again, I think that's like the third largest ever, behind Apple's $100 billion and Alphabet's $70 billion. Now, again, companies are allowed to do this, but generally a company will buy back its own stock when they feel it's undervalued, when they feel, usually when it's off of its highs and they're buying maybe the dip. But NVIDIA is buying at their absolute all-time highs, basically, with $60 billion to try to keep this going. And it's worth noting that they're spending way, way more on share buybacks than they've been spending on equipment or R&D. Like, almost all their money is not being reinvested into this colossal AI story they keep saying. It's just into buying back their own stock to keep the stock up. So again, worth looking at. Now, the next major thing, and this is kind of the real story here of NVIDIA's, what's going to happen for the next couple of years for NVIDIA, and it's worth watching. It's China, okay? Because the China story has been all over the news lately. So we know that Nvidia gets about roughly 10, 15% of their revenue from China in a normal year. But in recent years, it's been harder and harder for them to sell directly into China because Biden and then Trump have banned them from selling their chips into China. Okay? And that's led to all sorts of craziness. The first bit of craziness is that there's been a lot more smuggling. Okay? This is just one story about $1 billion worth of chips that were smuggled into China. But there's many more. I mean, if you've seen the Gamers Nexus breakthrough, you've seen that a lot of NVIDIA chips have been going into other countries and then being smuggled into China. A great example is this. NVIDIA's revenue share by country, 46% from the USA. In 2024, the share of Singapore was roughly 0. In 2025, it's 18.1. Okay? Suddenly, Singapore is buying a whole fuck ton of Chinese of NVIDIA chips, despite Singapore being really small. Okay? It seems like it is a sign that a lot of chips are being moved into China, but they're being smuggled through. Okay? And, for NVIDIA's POV, that's fine. They don't care if it's being smuggled or not. Someone's buying it, and they're getting the revenue. But the U.S. obviously wants to crack down on this, and trackers have started to become embedded in AI chip shipments to catch diversions to China. So this is from this month. So there's innovations being made to try and stop this and crack down on this. And if any of these are successful, that's also a fly in the ointment for NVIDIA's story, for NVIDIA's growth story. If they actually can't sell to China, well, then that's a really big problem. So I want to talk about another thing. This is the NVIDIA H20. So at a high level, here's what happened, right? NVIDIA has their latest and greatest Blackwell chips. The US said you can't sell those to China, banned. So obviously they're being smuggled. But there's some friction and they're now going to China, all right? So NVIDIA created this H20, this H2O, the water chip, if you want to call it that. It's not H2O, it's H20, but H20. And this chip is slightly worse. It's not the latest and greatest. It's not the best chip. And they got permission from Donnie T to sell this in China. Okay? Jensen Huang went and he said, hey, we need to make sure that China's still using NVIDIA chips and not making their own. So we made a worse version. It's not the latest and greatest, but we can sell it there. And this had two problems with this administration. Number one is that Donald Trump said, okay, I'll let you sell this weaker chip to China, but you got to pay the mob boss his VIG. He said you can only sell to China if you give 50% straight to the White House. Okay? Straight, this is NVIDIA AMD. So you have to give a percentage of your revenue. That's part of it. The second thing was this guy, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, went on national news and said this about the chips.
I'm looking at Nvidia. So buy these chips last year. So then we.
Oh wait, start around here, yeah.
I'm looking at Nvidia getting a deal to be allowed to sell certain chips and do more business into China. That's coming from this administration.
That we would start to resell them. So remember, these are an older chip. Biden had them available, and we rethought it. But now that NVIDIA came out with their newest chip, you realize the newest chip is called the Blackwell. Then they have the H200 and H100. This is like the fourth one down. So the fourth one down, we want to keep China using it. We want to keep having the Chinese use the American technology stack because they still rely upon it. And that's key. So we try to play that balance. We don't sell them our best stuff, not our second best stuff, not even our third best. I think fourth best is where we've come out that we're cool.
Well, fourth best is giving the stock a 4.5% pop today.
They could sell a lot of those chips.
Yeah, an over $4 trillion market cap, right? Which then when NVIDIA rises, it's kind of the tide that lifts a lot of different boats. You look at the NASDAQ that's up today. But some would argue, why are we giving China any access to chips? How do we square that?
So the idea is the Chinese are more than capable of building their own. right? So you want to keep one step ahead of what they can build, so they keep buying our chips, because remember, developers are the key to technology.
Okay.
You want the world's developers to use your tech. So Nvidia is driven to make sure all the developers of the world are still using their technology. So you want to sell the Chinese enough that their developers get addicted to the American technology stack. And that's the thinking. Donald Trump is on it. He thinks about it. And we've designed the platform model.
So look, this was politically really fucking stupid. To brag about how you're selling them only the shitty fourth best chip, and to go on and say it's like we're going to get them addicted to our technology stack, like it's the opium war 2.0, did not sit right with China. China turns against NVIDIA's AI chip after insulting Howard Lutnick remarks. Okay? Now look, China has always been trying to make their own chips, and they were doing this anyway. But this specific H2O, H20, after his remarks, they just couldn't let it stand. So they immediately banned it on the Chinese side and said no one could buy it. In fact, yeah, they went around to all the Chinese companies and said you can't buy the H2O, H20 processors. So they called the statement insulting. Listen, although China has worked to transition away from American technology for some time, the country now seems determined to hasten these efforts. The government has asked its regulators to find ways to move Chinese companies away from NVIDIA's H20 chips. So now NVIDIA cannot sell these. And in fact, in their earnings call, did not include any China revenue in what they announced yesterday. Because this political tension and war is heating up. At the same time, there's a company you're going to start hearing a lot more about. If you haven't heard about it already, you're going to hear more about it. This is Cambricon. Cambricon has been rising a lot relatively recently. In fact, this is their stock price. This is like within the past few days. Cambricon is essentially the Chinese version of NVIDIA in terms of making GPU type chips for AI acceleration, for AI. Okay. Cambricon, their shares were already doing well. And then DeepSeek, which is the Chinese open source AI model, announced they were going to be updating their model to run on homegrown chips, like the ones made by Cambricon. So again, this company's not caught up to NVIDIA, but it is working in that space, and it has free demand for its chips. Because these big Chinese AI companies can't buy the NVIDIA ones, they are going to start buying more local domestic made ones from China. And that is causing huge spikes in their prices as people realize that, as there's this huge real demand. So again, if you're watching this and you're going, oh man, I got to buy some Cambricon, just want to warn you, a lot of people have that idea in China. This is on the Shanghai stock market. By the way, they after this surge, they became the most valuable company on the Shanghai stock market. Right ahead of, what is it? Muay Thai? How do you pronounce this? The liquor. this company. This company. Can you see? Oh, you can see it. This company. If you ever had this stuff, does not Muay Thai. So anyway, I've seen that shit on cold ones. So it surged. All right. So it surged. And the Chinese, the company Cambricon literally warned its own investors that they're buying probably at an overvalued price. Like, I've never really seen a company do that, but they basically said, hey, this is crazy. We tripled in like no time. You have a lot of risks if you keep buying. So, I wouldn't jump in yourself. But anyway, so that's the battle. It's like China wants there to be domestic chip production and is doing what they can to do that. And we're sort of doing our part, or Howard Lutnick is doing his part to make it difficult for NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, in response, is halting production of the chip they designed for China, and it's going to try to make a new product that can hopefully get sold there. But they have 4 big challenges. So now they have to make a brand new chip for China. If you're Nvidia, to solve this problem and still get growth in China legally, you have to, number 1, make a new chip for China. Number 2, get Trump to agree that you can sell it in China. Number 3, get China to agree to buy it. And then number 4, after all that, you have to pay Trump 15% of whatever it makes. So this is a real challenge. Like, the challenges in China are happening right now for Nvidia. That's making it hard to keep that side of their business going. And the smuggling is getting cracked down on, so it's going to make it harder to do that. Now, an even weirder aspect of this whole thing is that Nvidia, in their earnings call, literally said this. They said, okay, we met with Donald Trump. He gave us a handshake deal that we could sell in China. He gave us, we got the licenses approved to sell in China, but he asked for 15% of the revenue. Now, what they said in the earnings call was, we can't pay that 15% unless there's some kind of actual formal plan with paperwork. And you guys have done no follow-up. They said there's been no follow-up. There's nothing. It was just a word. It was just words. There's no, like, we have the licenses, we can sell, but we don't know how we're going to pay the money. Like, to who and where and when and why. And someone in chat goes, just don't pay it. And that's what they were kind of saying. That's so funny. Basically, Nvidia was making the argument that, like, if the teacher doesn't show up, we can leave. They're basically saying, like, if we don't get any paperwork about this 15%, we're just not going to pay anything. I don't have to pay 50% until I see something's a true regulatory document. So if Trump forgore, then they're going to just get by without paying. However, I saw a pretty good analysis of this, which basically said if Nvidia tries to do that, based on the way, Trump has been acting recently, they're going to get Jack Ma'd, which is where Jack Ma thought he had the regulatory approval to launch his Ant Financial company. And then Xi Jinping, little broed him, showed up and completely halted it, and then he disappeared for a while. I'm not going to say Colette Kress or Jensen Huang's going to disappear. But what I'm saying is, if they decide to try and go around paying their VIG, they're going to get blocked. They will not get the export licenses signed. So that's the race right now. China is trying to find its own Nvidia. Cambricon and Huawei are sort of the front runners. And Nvidia is trying to somehow balance. I mean, Jensen Huang is like going in interviews in America and saying President Trump has a great plan for the future of this country and America needs to lead in AI. And he's like going to China and saying, like, I'm Chinese. I can speak Chinese and I'm Chinese American. Like, he's literally trying to balance two things to be able to keep this place running, to be able to keep sales going across the world. And I'm just, I think one of the lessons of this earnings call is that all is getting harder and harder to balance. The political is meeting the business side, and it's becoming hard. There's more and more friction. Just having the better product is not enough anymore with the political stakes. So that's where we find ourselves. Two big threats to NVIDIA's future. However, in the present, they are still doing incredibly, incredibly well. They are an extremely profitable company, and it'd be hard to bet against them, man. It'd be hard to bet against them. Compared to anyone else in AI, they are making actual, real cash profit. And I think that's the update on the earnings. I hope that helps you understand. Thanks for watching. There are so many individual vulnerable points. Yeah, it's just, that's what it's saying. It's like this teetering tower, and there's a lot of like little Jenga blocks. And if any one of them gets pulled, I think it's dangerous. But right now, it's all holding. Joseph Messiah, thank you for the 17 months. Appreciate that. So if Meta starts failing, the world is fucked? No. But if Meta's not going to start failing, I think. Meta's making a ton of money. If Meta just decides that they don't want to spend the amount they've been spending, the absolutely absurd amount they've been spending, Wait, there's a comment. Actually, oh wait, there was dude, does someone have this this quote? Oh, please let me find it. It was so recent. This is it. This is it. This Ponzi scheme sounding quote. This is Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, one of the second biggest AI model. And he just had this quote where he was trying to prove how AI is not a Ponzi with what they're spending, and instead like described a Ponzi. Okay? So he basically said that, like, let's say in 2023 you train a model that costs 100 million and you deploy it in 2024 and it makes 200 million. Meanwhile, because of scaling laws, you're also going to be training a model that costs $1 billion. And then in 2025, you get 2 billion. Basically, you get 2 billion in revenue. And then you spent 10 billion that year to train the next model. So if you look at a conventional way, you lose 100 million the first year, 800 million the second year, and 8 billion the third year. So it looks like it's getting worse and worse. But if you consider each model individually, then the model that was trained in 2023 is profitable. So he's not wrong that, like, if you made a model that cost 100 million to make and you make 200 million in profit, that's profitable. But if it requires you every year to spend exponentially more on the next model, then all you're doing is burning investor money in this chase of growth. Like, when do you get to stop and be profitable? Is the first thing. The second thing is that this is a kind of a fake number, because he says, okay, it costs 100 million to make and it makes 200 million in revenue. But that's $100 million is only the cost to train the model. It doesn't include the cost of employees and the cost of running the model, the inference. So generally, in fact, you're losing money on this one, you're losing money on this one, you're losing money on this one, and you're all losing money on the next one. So it's just a scaling infinite losses. And it's a spooky thing to read. It's a spooky thing to read. So eventually someone's got to say stop. Like, if you're losing 100 million, then 800 million, then 8 billion, then 80 billion, like, eventually people go, wait a minute, this is crazy. But it's a really great environment to be selling the shovels. Yeah, exactly. Like Nvidia does. Google doesn't buy NVIDIA chips. They make their own TPU chips. No, this is wrong. They do make their own TPU chips, but they also buy NVIDIA chips. Because as a cloud provider, their customers want access to NVIDIA stack because they build on CUDA. So they do buy NVIDIA chips. Can't wait for the Big Short best bubble in 20 years from the Rizzler's Jensen Huang. You think the Rizzler's going to play Jensen Huang? Thank you for the 28 months, Quinkadink. How do they transfer all the potatoes to make the chips? See, old mate Nico, can I just say, I admire the dedication to continually making potato chip jokes every time I bring up chips for the next... I've been talking about computer chips on stream for a very long time. And every week, people recognize this is my chance to make a potato chip joke. And they lean into it, and I respect it. It's like, it's going to hit. It shows a commitment to the bit. It shows a fucking commitment to the bit. The elite talk over the 5 months. Has China made any progress in a company to rival ASML? Isn't ASML the actual bit they're struggling with? No. They are trying, but no, I don't think they're close on ASML. But no, I wouldn't say that's what they're struggling with, because they would like a competitor to Nvidia and CUDA more than anything. They would like their AI to be built on Chinese design chips that are then built by TSMC in Taiwan, which they expect eventually will become Chinese. Okay? They're not as worried as America is about getting the production of the chips, the foundries, because those are all in Taiwan, and they see Taiwan as an inalienable part of China. They're more worried about designing the chips, and that's where America leads right now. America leads in the designing of the chips. Nvidia, AMD. So that's why Cambricon and Huawei are the happiness curve. Okay, I want to talk about this. Yeah, this is a big topic. And I want your honest opinion, especially if you're young. Okay? If you are under 30, honestly, if you're under 30, then I want to hear your thoughts on this. And it's not insanely out of the realm of what we talked about before, but I just saw more concrete data today. Let's see if I can find it. Where did I call it? Damn, what did I call it in my notes? Damn, what the fuck? Wait. I know I have it somewhere. Give me 1 second. Sorry. You can spam Boomer if you want. You can spam Boomer if you want. I will find it, and then we'll be able to talk about it. But I can also explain it if I don't find it. I made sure to fully understand. I found it. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay. Here's the subject. So there's this thing in happiness research called the happiness curve. Okay? And it looks like this. This is your age, and this is how happy you are. Smiley face. Put a smiley face in chat, please. Okay? And generally, it's like this huge, it's like this Nike swoosh type curve. And it looks like this. You're pretty happy when you're young, and then as you hit middle age, which is between 30 and in some countries 60, but really more like 45, 50. All right, let's say it like this. You get the lowest happiness. This is where you're like most unhappy because you have lots of jobs and you have responsibilities and kids and life and house and bills and pressure, and your body's getting older, okay? And then after this period, this later in life period, happiness actually rises again and gets pretty high. This is a repeated study all over the world, different countries, hits every time, like very, very consistent. It's like a smile, they call it, your happiness curve. Okay? About retirement, yeah. That's the idea. Now, what I'm bringing up today is this new thing from The Economist that I'm almost afraid to tell you guys because it's kind of sad. But basically says the middle-aged, which would be this, are no longer the most miserable. Since, and this is like recent, this is like since 2019, this curve has been reliable for decades, by the way. This curve has broken since 2019. And now it looks like this. It's the most miserable are just the young. The curve has become warped. And in fact, yeah, it's really more flat. It's like this, really. And then old people are happy. It's like 65. It's like this, dude. It's like basically everyone's miserable except for the old. Since 2019 specifically. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is young people across the world are reporting the highest levels of misery of any age group. These people under 30 are more miserable than they've ever been and more miserable than everyone else, which is actually fucking crazy. Which is actually fucking crazy. And historically anomalous. And this is not just America. Some people are thinking this is like phones or an America thing. This is true. I mean, we have hardcore data for America. We have hardcore data for the UK. But we also have data showing this across 44 countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East. Young people are consistently reporting more gloom, more misery, and more problems. And so, you know, this article goes into some of the possible reasons, and it throws out some of the ones that you might have thought. They don't think there's a strong link between smartphone and social media use and this. Largely because it started in 2019. They really think it has a lot to do, as I've probably mentioned a lot, with the economy. In that, like, there's a pretty good link between having a job and some resilience to your happiness level. But even that link is fraying because Gen Z are reporting that they are less satisfied with their jobs than previous young people. Like, the jobs are less stable. People are less happy with them. They feel like they have less career advancement. They feel like they have less, I don't know, they have more stress with their boss. But also, it's harder to find a job. So the most miserable you are is when you're looking for a job and cannot find one. And that's higher too. Youth unemployment is on the rise in all of these different countries. And so, you know, I think there's a lot of ways you can take this and look at this. But I think the core of it is something I've just been saying over and over and over again, and that I really want to hammer home, which is like, there's an age component to this. And it's not just in America. In fact, let me show you this speech. This is crazy. I want to do a whole separate presentation about France, so I might replay this clip. But I'm going to show it to you today because it's so relevant to what I'm saying. The Prime Minister of France is likely going to lose his job next week because he's trying to create a balanced budget and nobody likes him. This is the same in almost all developed countries with big debt problems, is that nobody can get anything passed because nobody wants to cut spending and nobody wants to raise taxes, okay? Nobody can balance the budget. And so he tried to do this. So I got a French speech, but I also got a translated one. Here's the translation one. Okay? This is in French. You can't tell.
Pas ça génial? Tout ça pour le confort de certains partis politiques.
He's gibberish, but here's the translation, okay?
They're the ones who are the victims. They're the ones who will have to pay off.
Talking about young people. He starts out talking about young people, but this is young people, okay?
They're the ones who are the victims. They're the ones who will have to pay off the debt for their entire lives. And we've managed to make them believe that it needs to be increased even more. Don't you think that's brilliant? All this just for the comfort of certain political parties and for the comfort of the boomers, as they say, who, from this point of view, think that, well, everything is just fine.
This is like so core of what I believe and been saying. This is so core. We just keep driving head first at a wall, knowing it's going to be a problem, and borrowing like fucking crazy and spending like crazy because it'll keep the boomers comfortable until they die. We're going to keep their assets propped up as long as we fucking can. It's going to cause so many problems and so much strain, but it'll keep them comfortable until they pass through this earth. And it's fucking crazy. And it's happening not just in America, but all over. It's happening in France. It's happening in the UK. It's happening in Australia. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in fucking China. China has high youth unemployment. Okay? We have this problem where like there's a government by the old who are just, they've given up on growth. They've given up on competition or innovation, or they're only focused on keeping what they have propped up. And it's fucked, dude. It's fucked. And so I think that is the core reason behind this crazy warping of the happiness curve, which again this curve has been a smile through world wars. This curve has been a smile through like a lot of things, but it's bent this way now because of how doomed I think young people feel. And I don't want to say doomed. Doomed maybe the wrong word, but just like they've got a huge amount of weight. Their atlas is a big globe on their shoulders because of how much it's been stacked for boomer prosperity. It's funny, he's not my Marketing Monday researcher anymore, but Dom, one of the guys that used to work for Marketing Monday, his dad still watches every Big A clip in Marketing Monday. His dad's a boomer. And when I made that video about 401ks where I talked about how the boomers have been, I'm sorry, somebody's dad. Cut this out of the video. Somebody's dad told me, somebody's dad was upset is all I'll say. I actually don't want to, because Adish is going to include this. Don't include this. Adish, don't include this in the clip. Somebody's dad was very upset. Here, let me retake this from the top. Adish, you can't include the part about identifying who it is. Okay. All I'll say is that a boomer related to somebody that works on my show saw a previous clip of mine where I blamed the boomers for propping up all their retirement accounts at the expense of everybody else. And this guy showed me the text from his dad, and it was like long. It was like really long, and it was like explaining how, I didn't get it. I didn't understand, like, boomers actually had it really tough too. And that, it took a lot of skill to be able to hold through those previous downturns in the market and ride the, it was just like, it was like it was a rough thing to read because, I'm sure, for example, is there 100 years on this? Like if this is U.S. home prices for 100 years, holding and maintaining through the Great Recession, there's something to that, I get. Usually just be wealthy already for it. But on the whole, every minor downturn has been met with like massive, massive debt and money printing from the government to reinflate whatever bubble you were in. Whether it's stocks or real estate or anything, anytime there was an actual downturn or actual price discovery, the government stepped in and borrowed from the future to make sure it would keep going up. And so I don't think it was that hard. I don't think it was that difficult. And we're at the end of the road on that. We're running out of rope and we're paying the price is all I'm saying. It's just, I think people that are young are feeling the weight of this and feeling the limitations of their government and how much it can spend. And I find it to be really frustrating. And I don't think, it's obviously it's a hashtag not all boomers, but I'm just kind of getting sick of boomers still running the government this long, where I'm getting sick of it. I don't think they are equipped for the challenges that the world faces now. And they're just going to continue this on this path of burying their heads in the sand and keeping their shit going until they're off this earth. And it's kind of frustrating me. Anyway, that's that. That's just that discussion I wanted to have. I'm not trying to be depressing about it. And obviously there's exceptions and people are happy. Some people are happy, but it's a weird stat to see that curve bend. devil's advocate, what is the difference between running out of rope and not using the rope, to use your analogy? If your rope is a metaphor for debt, okay, then the difference is you still have some rope. If you don't use it, then in an emergency, you still have it. You could use it for something. If you run out of it, then you're fucked. When you need it, you have no rope. You're useless. You're out. That's what I'm saying. So, if the U.S. government ran a balanced budget and didn't have massive, massive debt, then if there was a problem, yeah, we could dip into the debt and then pay it down when times were good. But we've never paid it down when times are good. In fact, when times are good, we take more debt. We just keep adding to the debt. And now when we need it, we can't borrow. No one's going to loan us any money. That's the best way I could say it. Okay? That's the best way I could say it, if that adds up. Overclocked pixel, like for the 30 months. Bro, as someone who works in healthcare, boomers have done no long-term care planning. They show up in the emergency department and demand to be placed in a nursing home and that the government pay for it, and are shocked when they find out that's not how it works. Yeah, I mean, that is wild. But, I think that entitlement is crazy, but that's not the type of boomer I'm extra mad at. Like, I'm more mad at the boomer who definitely can afford all this stuff. The boomer that has, house or two and stock portfolio and still wants the working class to pay them a social security check when their income's over six figures. And, I just, no, they can afford it. They just want the government to still pay for it. Oh, that's funnier. That's funnier. They have like 2 homes. Oh, yeah. You're probably going to see a lot of this too. You're going to see a lot of, in some states, real pushes to get rid of property taxes, like Florida or Texas. You're going to see like these big pushes to be like, we have to get rid of property taxes. How can I own my own house if I have to pay property taxes? You should be able to pay off your house and not pay anything. And I just want you to understand that a couple things, man. A couple things. Number one, a place like Florida doesn't do income tax. Okay? So Florida, like let's say we do an example of 2 different states, right? So here's Cali and here's Florida. And this is income and this is property. Okay, Cali has really low property taxes. Like way too low. It's one of the problems with the fucking state, actually. It lets people fucking sit in a house for decades and no innovation or no building. But they have high income tax. Okay. And so Florida is kind of the opposite, where it has property tax, but no income, or low or no income tax. Okay. So either way, you have some way of funding your state. If you're in Florida and they remove the property tax, they're not going to suddenly be like, we should raise the income tax to counterbalance. They just want none. And that is going to mean Florida cannot afford a damn thing. Like, they can't, people are still going to want all the social services. They're still going to want the roads. They're still going to want the insurance for hurricanes. They're going to want, but they're not going to have that because they have no taxes. So this property tax thing makes no fucking, it's the only way the state funds itself. So that's like one of the main things you need to understand about it is it's insane. That's how you're paying for the roads and the schools and whatever of the state. And if you use those things, you have to pay in somehow, and it's either this or this. Secondly, is that property taxes, if anything, are kind of a more progressive tax than income tax. because property taxes hit people with property. So, like, if you're primarily taxing property holders, well, then the average renter and a person without property is not paying as much of the tax burden. So it's not that bad. So when people say we need to remove property taxes, they're basically saying we need to give more of a tax break and more of a help to rich boomer property owners who, again, have been doing so well. They've been doing so well. Like, they are not the person we need to finally bend over backwards and defund the rest of the state to keep going. So I would just say when you hear this shit, you know, they might have some flowery language that sounds good about how, like, a man should be able to own his own land. If you pay off your land, it should be yours and no one can take it from you no matter what. But, like, it's just getting real. Like, you have to pay for the roads and the schools of the state and the water and if they're going to do it, it has to be one way or the other. And I think this way is actually not bad, and it benefits people who are way richer than you. So don't be fooled. I say don't be fooled, okay? Same thing with like estate taxes, bro. Estate taxes over 10 million. If you have under 10 million, then just shut the fuck up and vote for estate taxes, bro. Don't let someone fool you with this fucking, it's a death tax. It's a fucking death tax. The government's going to kill you so they can... Just don't be fooled by it, bro. Estate tax over 10 million is one of the best taxes you can fucking have. It's one of the best for social stability. Inherited wealth is the worst kind of wealth, bro. $10 million is enough. Okay. So anyway, that's my little tax rant update. Okay, I've ranted enough today. I farmed at least 2 clips, maybe 3. I'm the GOAT. I've done all my work. I want my applesauce. We want to watch something? It's only 8. I want to watch like there's like some really good reacts, I think. Some like intelligent reacts. I want to learn some shit. But have it be interesting. I thought I had a couple that I... When's Crypto Shark Tank? I think soon. I might open it up to you guys. Do you guys have anything interesting we can learn? Is there anything interesting we could learn on YouTube? And then I'll probably watch a small video, yeah, but afterwards. Good vid, what's this?
Millions of Americans.
Billionaires found a new way to steal your paycheck. What's it about? Oh, cash advance apps? Oh, this could be interesting. We could watch
struggling
this.
With balloon.
This is cash advance apps. I'd be interested in watching that. Okay, let me get my applesauce for real, though. I wasn't joking. I was not joking. I will get my applesauce, and then I'll... Raise hell with some Sam Pell, dude. Applesauce is for weak baby boys. Counterpoint. No, it's not. It's delicious. And real men love the taste of a good sauce. Okay? How about that? Counterpoint yummy. Wait, I'm opening up GSS because I want to see your videos. And honestly, someone made a good point. We just discussed some hardcore shit. Is there perhaps something a little bit, we could still learn, but a little bit happier? perhaps just a little bit, maybe not just like, for example, the job market has changed again with a fucking line going down. That sounds no Blaine. Let's get something a little more. A little more. Oh, I want to watch this. Oh, this is perfect. Someone suggested this to me. I watched the first 30 seconds and I was like, wait, this could be a really interesting react. The the Great Delivery War of China. This looks very interesting. I mean, he might have based it on some articles that I've also read because there was a big Bloomberg article about this. Maybe there's more. Maybe he knows more. Maybe he's got some inside information. I want to watch this. So let's watch this.
Now, just 6 months ago, possibly the funniest situation I've ever seen in my life began to take shape on my For You page. It gets a little deeper than that, you'll see, where a video of what I can only describe to be the closest thing we have to a modern-day Eastern Game of Thrones began to take shape. Now, what you may not realize is that on the surface level, this may look like a simple turf war, but on a deeper level, this is at least Wikipedia-level lore 10 years from now. So today, let's talk about none other than the currently happening Great Delivery War instigated by...
This is literally where I stopped. I'm interested already because, mostly because they're dressed like, like video game characters actually fighting. The fact that they're all color coded is what made it so interesting to me. I think we need, that's just good. I think people should do that. Bring that back to war. Blue, red, and yellow. Yeah. I think top comment is like, it's like the Pokemon Go colors.
By the tech giant JD. Now, when I saw that clip, I thought to myself,
why don't we do this in America? Why don't we go outside and pledge allegiance to the company we work for? I feel like McDonald's employees should be forced to do this every day before their shift. To Ronald. You don't? I'm sorry.
Now, when I saw that clip, I thought to myself, after living through Elon Musk casually dropping $52 billion on a social media app, never in a million years did I think I would witness an economic version of the worrying state, with 3 tech giants locked in fierce competition for survival of the fittest in the jungle. How fiercely, you ask? How badly do they want to win? Well, they're selling shit for free, so what can I say? Anyways, here's a 60-second brief rundown on the key players we have at hand.
Okay.
All right, starting with the obvious one, Alibaba, emerged in early 2000s.
Yeah! Okay. No matter what happens, I'm cheering for Alibaba because I still own some shares of Alibaba. I fuck with Jack Ma, the boy who lived. Okay? I'm team Alibaba, baby. Well, actually, I own some shares of a Cayman Islands repository that has a claim on the profits of Alibaba because as an American investor, I'm not allowed to actually own Chinese stock. But
production needed. Basically, Amazon now owns half of China's online retail, sees an opportunity in food delivery and local services, recognize the brand needs its own champion in the field, acquires the online food delivery platform aka Are You Hungry? The blue uniform people, captures about 1/3 of the food delivery market, ranks second
Alibaba
in the
is
industry.
blue.
Then we have Meituan, started in 2010 as a
Team
group
Blue.
buying deal site like Groupon. They were pretty small, but so was 100 other different tech companies they were competing with at the time. Obviously, nobody knows what they're doing back then, successfully survives the fight against all 100 companies, emerges in victory, dubbed by netizens as the 1,000 Groupon War.
Okay. Okay. So they're the veterans. Okay. They struggled and fought their way to the top. They're kind of like Bane. They made it out of the cave. All right. Team Yellow. Very, very threatening. Team Instinct, if you will.
Into food delivery, captures 2/3 of the market, refuses to elaborate, wears yellow uniforms. Now, JD emerged sometime in 2010 as well, selling electronics both online and in-store, somehow develops a nationwide logistic network despite almost going bankrupt from COVID 1.0, known for reliable shipping, hates Alibaba, and wears red uniforms. Now, 3 tech titans all sprinting towards the same finish line in the same market. Now we know the players at hand, let me walk you through the generational.
So Yellow's leading, Blue's in second place, Red is brand new and carries a mace. Okay. All right. Is this Pokemon Go? Yeah, but real life. All right. The fact that they all wear colored uniforms is very funny.
battle that is unfolding at this moment. Now, historically, Alibaba's Are You Hungry and Meituan has always been in direct conflict with each other, and the reason's pretty simple. They were both competing for the same market. While JD focused on selling goods from warehouses, steering relatively clear from groceries.
Why don't we have this? I would like to see, and I think you guys can all join me in this, I would like to see people working for Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats fighting in the streets. I think it would be more fun for our lives if people who were working low-wage gig jobs were fighting all the time, like we're in big gang wars. I would order more. It would fix my happiness curve.
Food delivery. Oh, why is that, you ask? Well, remember how I said Meituan had around 2/3 of the market?
Dude, the literal Hunger Games! +2. +2, whoever said that. +2, that's very good.
Not only does that effectively mean Meituan is basically the default option, majority-wise, for food delivery in China, which means they set the prices, they make the deals, they wear the pants, curbed by the server admin once, but continues anyways. Point is, imagine if anything above this line means you make money in the industry, and everything below this line means you lose money. Now, since Meituan has majority in market share, Meituan gets to kind of draw the line. If they decide delivery fees sit here, then anyone who wants to compete has to at least match me or go even lower just to take the dub. But joke's on you, because going lower means burning cash. So JD sees a situation, well, that I ain't trying to play. And it's not like other companies haven't tried getting into food delivery. Douyin, China's TikTok, pretty impressive company, right? Tried to muscle its way in 2022, and their pitch was relatively simple. Why watch a food video where you can literally order the food? So they started offering...
Okay, one thing I want to say is this sounds like they're in the early stages of the competition, where everyone's still willing to burn money to gain market share. I think if you are, for example, in America, you remember the days where Uber and Lyft actually were trying to compete and you got great prices. Or more realistically, you know, the days of cheaper, let's do the streaming bubble. Like if you remember Disney Plus and Netflix and everything was cheap because they were all trying to get market share. But then eventually you stop wanting to burn cash and everyone starts raising prices. I'm assuming, you know, actually, I just know for a fact they can't all burn money forever. Someone's going to eventually start. So people who get used to it are going to be in for a rude awakening as the price of delivery goes. It's the millennial subsidy. That's the way that it's been put. The millennial subsidy, which is like, there was this good decade, maybe less. I'd say a decade. Maybe 8 years. I would say like 2014 to 2022. Was this gap, this millennial gap, where we got so many things for cheap. The millennial 8 years, we just got like a lot of, we got global investors to subsidize our lives. We got food delivery for cheap. We got entertainment for cheap. We got travel for cheap. We got a lot of things for cheap. And then those companies all started raising prices.
Take the dub. But joke's on you, because going lower means burning cash. So JD sees a situation, well, that I ain't trying to play. And it's not like other companies haven't tried getting into food delivery. Douyin, China's TikTok, pretty impressive company, right? Tried to muscle its way in 2022, and their pitch was relatively simple. Why watch a food video where you can literally order the food? So they started offering food delivery options, realized they don't have the logistics or the reputation. For example, cases where buyers order food, nobody bothers to make them because nobody comes to collect began happening everywhere. In the end, couldn't even beat the blue people, takes the L, leaves the market, decides to do a partnership.
Sorry, what happened? People...
Cases where buyers order food, nobody bothers to make them because nobody comes to collect began happening everywhere.
Why is nobody coming to collect? If I order food, why would I not come to collect?
In the end, couldn't even beat the blue people, takes the L, leaves the market, decides to do a partnership instead. So anyways, the two giants within the game continues to fight.
Oh, there was no driver to collect that I see. Okay, I get it. The restaurant is getting an order for a food and not even making it because they know there's no drivers. Okay, I got you.
In the meantime, both securing a pretty impressive audience base, and everything seems like it was well and good. Until one day, everything changed.
Okay?
Jingdong's here, baby. What do they bring to the table? Low fees for vendors, insurance for riders, proper employment contracts, fair work policies. You know, it kind of reminds me of back in high school where we used to run polls for school.
Wait, is this like some sort of, I don't get it. This company doesn't have market share, so it wants to gain market share. So it's offering better prices and better employment contracts. It's like some sort of competition. It sounds like woke garbage. It sounds like woke garbage. I gotta be honest with you. This is so fucked. There should only be one company in every market, and it should be institutionalized by the government. There should be regulations put up so no one else can compete.
Employment contracts, fair work policies. You know, it kind of reminds me of back in high school where we used to run polls for school captain, and then mums would be on that stage saying anything to get elected. Oh, we'll have 2 lunch breaks and discount coupons for canteens. So Meituan hears about this and makes the first counter offense, posts an official response the same day cancelling penalties for late delivery for riders. Oh, bit of an aggressive defense there, pal. Anyways, the point of that move is stabilize morale first, so nobody fucking jumps ship. Then a week later, they fire back properly at JD with an announcement of their own, promising that all full-time and even part-time riders would now be covered under social insurance policies. Now, what's even funnier is that the way they decide to respond to this was, oh, these policies, they were in development since July 2022 under Human Resource Department projects. Better late than never. Great defense. Both parties release their respective moves and the battle goes on for a couple months. So JD gets an estimate of a couple million orders a day. Numbers aren't officially released, but things are going as it is. Nothing crazy. Then, early April, JD launches another campaign effectively releasing a massive stimulus granting major discounts across the nation. Millions of netizens and influencers across multiple platforms begin to post the crazy discounts they were receiving from JD, while simultaneously dubbing the situation as a modern-day battle of the 3 kingdoms. Meituan responds to the 12th with an equally sizable stimulus. But this is where it gets interesting. Now, this is a public announcement made by a Meituan executive publicly denouncing JD. Now, the letter begins with, let me just say a few words. We're not the first to do this, and we're not going to be the last. Alibaba, DD, TikTok, all do it, and DD's doing it overseas. Now, to put that more bluntly,
when I knock people out, they don't move. They're like, who the is that guy? Who the is that?
The sentence closes, compete with us, and you'll be left in the trash heap of history. JD, of course, decides...
I'm sorry, what?
The sentence closes, compete with us, and you'll...
So wait, Team Yellow? They don't actually say that. I was like, wait, what? Oh, they do. We're going to sweep their large and ineffective warehousing and distribution systems into the dustbin of history.
Left in
That's wild.
The trash heap of history. JD, of course, decides to fire back on the 21st of April with a letter addressed right here. We also publicly advise a certain platform. You go over a decade without paying social insurance and housing fund for any of your delivery drivers, you use powerful algorithms to exploit them to the utmost, you turn a blind eye to the safety issues of delivery drivers whose accident rates is over 3 times of that what it should be. You have forgotten a saying of our ancestors, water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it.
Oh, fire. Now, do you guys think, this is just an interesting question I might pose to you, do you think the CEO of JD deeply cares more about the workers than the CEO of Meituan? Do you think that's why? It's because he cares more? He's just a nicer guy? Or do you think possibly, perhaps, it is to his benefit to care more because it allows him to get drivers and gain market share? And that is a benefit of competition. Whether or not he's a nice guy, he has to care about safety issues. He has to do that because it allows him. Do you think it's not like this just individual one-off, this CEO is good or bad? It's more like this system of competition actually creates the environment for better wages and better... Maybe not. He's not woke, don't imply that. I'm sorry, that's not...
You have forgotten a saying of our ancestors. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. I hope you take care of yourself.
However, I don't know how this video ends, but like, if this is happening now, then I guess we're up to live. But it would not surprise me if there's some disaster brewing here. You know, it's like, again, it reminds me of the streaming bubble. all these streaming companies had super low prices, and they were going around Hollywood and buying everybody's shows. No matter how stupid your fucking show was, they'll pay for it. Everyone in Hollywood had jobs. And now you walk around Hollywood and everyone's lost their fucking jobs because the bubble popped. Okay? All the money is evaporating. They're all cutting back. And nobody can get a show greenlit anymore. So it's possible this is like a bit of a bubbly environment.
Turn back soon. Damn, is it that soon? Now, as the war continues to rage on here on the blue side of the battlefield, Are You Hungry recognizes that...
I'm sorry, did they say keep yourself safe? What'd she say?
It should be. You have forgotten a saying of our ancestors. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. I hope
you'll take care of yourself. That's a wild thing for one company to say to the other.
You take care of yourself. Turn back soon. Damn, is it that soon? Now, as the war continues to rage on here on the blue side of the battlefield, Are You Hungry recognizes that this is not a battle they can win alone. So, sometime late June, reinforcement arrives as Alibaba joins the fray. Because what's the #1 backup plan for when it goes south in your business ventures? You gotta bring in your rich dad. So I guess with $50 billion freshly arriving into the accounts receivables of the Are You Hungry team, another batch of stimulus and discounts were also released into the public, draining the markets even drier and profits even thinner. So they settle for a couple of days, and then comes mid-July. The war escalates even further as Meituan releases a fresh new discount week. What's the reason to discount? Any special occasions, my king? Yeah, it's Saturday. Reason to celebrate. Discount. Alibaba swiftly counters by bringing in Taobao. Taobao releases Super Saturday. There you go. 188 yuan.
Dude, this has been what a great time to be a Chinese incel, I guess. What do you call someone's homebody? So Chinese shut-in. Yeah, a Chinese shut-in, not an incel. Just a neat. Yeah, I was thinking of the word neat. A reckless. Someone's stuck at home, bro. You're just getting deals on deals on deals. You can be ordering all your meals per day.
Everybody gets a discount. Claim now lasts as long as we need it. But the king isn't brought down this easily. Meituan, the emperor class player, makes a move in order to fend off the assault, bids back against the offensive by literally releasing shit for free. God damn, what a play. That's right. Good discount. Of course, this particular...
Dude, getting your... Can you imagine? Getting your fucking private taxi burrito delivered for free. That is not a company. That is not a company. Just driving food to someone's house for free is not a company. That is just a cash burning machine. They just press a button on the app and you it's a charity. It's a charity. But it's at scale because millions of people can do that.
Maneuver caused such a ruckus that Beijing steps in, blowing the whistle in order to prevent further wastage on 0 yuan orders. They didn't stop the war though, it carried on.
The government stepped in to stop food from being delivered for free. That's funny.
As Jingdong launches a third wave of assault, 500-gram lobsters for 16 yuan, only limited to 100,000 people every night. If you miss it tonight, there's one tomorrow. Now, in the meantime, clips of vendors absolutely flooding with orders began to trend all over social media. Now, this particular screenshot posted by a netizen consists of a...
That is... So, he goes so fast, dude. This is like... I actually think this is a great video, but it's like... it's like 15% faster than I want. It's like... It's just a little bit too zoomer for me. I can't keep on. I'm an old man, dude. If this is a 10-minute video instead of an 8-minute video, it'd be perfect for me.
So, 500-gram lobsters for 16 yuan, only limited to 100,000 people every night. If you miss it tonight, there's one tomorrow. Now, in the meantime...
This is wild. This amount of orders, it reminds me of like The Bear. Where they're just screaming and shitting and crying every time a new online order comes in.
Clips of vendors absolutely flooding with orders began to trend all over social media. Now, this particular screenshot posted by a netizen consists of a chat log between a rider and the customer, where the rider claims there are so many orders, there is literally no hope for you to get your drink. And screenshots like this one also began to circulate, where a rider was forced to grab a random milk tea because the original order got lost in the chaos. Some shops were hit so hard by the surge of demand, they literally had to close their shops early, running out of stock hours before.
I mean, this shit, if it's free, everyone will order one. The risk, they're not even get it. They don't need to pick it up. If it's free boba, everyone you know is going to order it. You're going to be making millions of.
Closing time. Riders, on the other hand, were also benefiting short term, as one claimed to have made his weekly wage in the span of a couple hours. Now, I suppose on the economic side of the discussion, all companies involved received a massive hit to stock prices, driving values to historical lows. Now, as of today, rumor has it that Pinduoduo, the group buying app, is also planning to enter the market, as the tech giants suffer somewhat considerable losses. Either way, I'm still paying $30 on my Uber Eats, so we'll see how it plays out.
Good video.
No,
interesting video, man. I assume, yeah, there's going to be problems. They can't keep that up. But I guess they just want their competitors to fold before they do. They're all just praying to God their competitors fold before they do. What was the channel? Let's shout him out. That channel was Jagao. Jagao. JGAO. Seems like it's mostly about maybe fashion and stuff. It's a lot of Chinese culture stuff, actually. He's got one on the Chinese dating market. We're going to see that.
So at this point, there's no doubt that the dating market in China has...
Let's do one more. The Chinese dating market is cooked, is what it's called. It has 700,000 views. The Chinese dating market is cooked.
So at this point, there's no doubt that the dating market in China has skyrocketed to, I don't know how many levels of difficult there is, but it's pretty high up there. So not only has the number of single men drastically increased, but the amount of people who are now actively leaving the dating scene is on the rise as well. And I kind of respect that, you know? That you can't always just leave.
Sorry, what? 800 women attend matchmaking event, no men show up? I don't... Okay.
Dating scene is on the rise as well. And I kind of
respect
that.
There's more men than women.
You can always just leave. That's always an option. Now, this has led to an interesting moment where we actually get to see the effects of voluntary and involuntary celibacy affecting the wider economy. God, what a sentence. Okay, for example, because less and less couples are getting married each year, we see a decline in the maternity industry, which checks out. And whilst the media tries not to explicitly make the following connections, we know that more and more people becoming single has got to be the reason, or at least a contributing factor, towards why the pet industry is now slowly rising to a major part of China's economy.
They're just millennials too. China, we have more in common than you think, bro. We're just global millennials. We all just have heckin' doggos.
And pretty much at this point, everybody knows that the dating scene has hit rock bottom. But when it comes to actually facing the issue together, the relevant stakeholders at hand, which is pretty much every single participant within the dating market, are not necessarily uniting their method of approach to tackle the topic of discussion. And this of course includes the percentage of the couples population who I know for a fact are dying to get a piece of this pie, which is actually none of my business, by the way. But y'all are scat. Unless it's consensual. Regardless, the point of this rambling here is supposed to tell you that both dating market participants and wider Chinese society continue to hold the opinion that the problem should be addressed. But not everybody takes the same approach in how they participate within the dating market. As the old saying goes, all paths lead to Rome, but not everybody takes the same path. The second part is not the old saying, it's the first part, but like you get what I'm trying to... Traditionalists, for example, often made up by a slightly more mature audience base, believes the solution towards fixing the dating market and the singleness epidemic is to repatch the arranged marriage meta, because it's one of the only services that exists where you get full transparency on what you're supposedly getting into. But the downside towards this method of approach is that you get very little say on who your partner is actually going to be. Personally, I think that's a little counterintuitive, because in the scenario where you rush into a relationship where you haven't spent enough time and effort to get to know each other to the full extent, there are of course other issues as well that can arise, for example, like having a lack of trust within the relationship because you didn't spend enough time building it in the first place.
Marriage gotcha fixes everything. You really gotta pray you get a 5-star waifu. And they gotta pray. They really gotta pray they're getting at least a fucking 3-star husbando here. You know, I feel like the odds are bad, dude. The odds are bad. You can't really re-roll in an arranged marriage.
And I swear to God, this is an actual complaint I've seen before. It's the fact that the agency or the broker offers no customer support hotline for when the relationship doesn't work out post-purchase. Fair enough. I mean, if you're gonna make it a service, at least make it comprehensive. Idealists, on the other hand, are made up by a slightly more innocent and younger generation, and believe the solution to fixing the problem is, of course, reviving authentic connections. This basically just means more people need to take the initiative in putting themselves in environments where it can happen naturally. Because honestly, it's actually pretty important to have the idea that fundamentally, love should happen when it's at the right moment, and romance should feel spontaneous and not forced. And whilst this is a great solution on paper, the method here adopts the assumption that everybody has great social skills and hobbies worth talking about, and has the mental and social capability of striking up an interesting conversation with a stranger in a public space. Now, here's an interesting and extremely niche report conducted by Seoul and the University of Shanghai. It was a collaborative approach that found the amount of people that are finding it easy to socialize with one another is slowly decreasing with each new generation.
Yikes.
Even when asked about how they feel doing it in their favorite hobby circles. Now take what you will out of that information, but you gotta remember one thing. All they did was just ask 3,000 people of their current user base, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. Now somewhere between the middle, we have more and more people adopting the realist build. Believe that love is possible only through dedication and hard work towards self-improvement. Now they don't make the mistake in idealizing romance, because love is part emotions and part logistics, and as long as you put in the work, you will get your reward proportionally in return to what you have to offer.
I see, you just have to face
In fact, I dare say some
max.
people watching right now would agree to this idea and would hold their ground and stand firm in subscribing to this idea. Well, that's until you hear about this story. Meet Li Hua, a 25-year-old top 50 global university graduate with a stable job and income and ownership of property and car in the city of Jinan. Now, he was surprisingly having a little bit of difficulty finding a suitable partner despite being on already 10 to 20 dates. And the counter-argument to cases like Li's, which naturally presents itself in the eyes of the realists, is that there's always a magic number to your problem, because the nature of statistics tells us supposedly that the easiest way to increase the likelihood of something happening is to rinse and repeat within your realms of possibilities until it happens. But my carefully curated counter-argument to that is, of course, Li Hua's story happened 11 years ago. He's still single. Now, I actually wasn't going to include the full story, but upon reading his full experience, I'm not joking when I say this is possibly the biggest L I've ever seen in my 25 years of life. Okay, so Li actually went on his very first blind date back in 2014, arranged by his family through a matchmaking service. Now, this is how he documents the interaction, okay? He still remembers that first girl.
Okay, I just want to say, I mean, if everything else is going for him, he's got this good job, property, whatever, looks like, is it possible he's just a fucking miserable person to talk to? Is it possible it's like he's just got a really horrendous personality? Like, I'm not saying, again, the odds are stacked in China because there's more men than women and it's difficult, and I get that, but is it possible he has just I'm not like a normal bad, like really bad.
She was stunning, like influencer level beauty, and that's without filters, just naturally gorgeous. Now, the girl was actually a student counselor at the University of Jinan, which is where this man works. And apparently she thought Mr. Li was decent as well. But here's the twist. Li chose not to pursue her. And when prompted the question why, in his own words, he claimed that she was just too good. I felt like I didn't deserve her. Not only was she beautiful, but she was mature, ambitious, extremely capable in social settings, the full package. And this is the line that sent me, okay? Being with her felt like I was a level 1 player going up against a max level boss. It just...
Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm worried about, bro. This is what I was worried about. It's very Clark Kent energy, actually. Yeah, he's got everything going for him and he fucks it up. He's a wall cell.
Wasn't fair. Mr. Li said meeting someone like that made him feel like she was out of reach, way out of his league. Now, since that date onwards, Li stopped being skeptical of matchmaking. He thought to himself, if that's the kind of person I can meet, maybe it's worth trying. Li then went on to complete 123 more matches, spending an estimated...
Dude, putting League of Legends in the background is very funny.
range of 50,000 to 100,000.
He's rage queuing into the dating market, dude.
And throughout the process with no success. Now, I want to be honest with you here. If this was my dating career, the only way you can possibly find this out is if I physically died and someone left it in my will. This might just be the biggest fumble in history. Then, of course, we have the materialists, who don't exactly fall into the spectrum in a traditional sense, because like the idealists who also chase a concept of romance, or a version of love that perfectly aligns with their desired lifestyle, many materialists would argue that they're just being honest about the harsh modern realities, especially in a dating economy where the cost of being in a relationship has just never been higher. And of course, when you then follow up with the question,
is it higher?
What does that all mean? Most of them will just tell you they want someone who's hot, rich, and loyal. The reality, of course, when it comes to seeing die-hard materialists in action, they usually just reduce their cutthroat criteria of hot, rich, and loyal down to a more realistic criteria. 2 out of the 3. That's all you get. And you know, my advice here is that if you do come across these type of people in your social network, instead of contemplating whether or not they're a good demographic of people to involve yourself romantically with, you can always just become their good friend instead, because whilst they don't always have the most romantic relationship, they always have the best stories to tell. I love you guys. But personally, I think it's kind of unfair to hold an entire single population, whether fragmented or not, collectively hostage and then demand a magic solution from them. Because most of what's killing the dating market today are things that no one group of people or demographic can actually fix or reasonably control. Because whilst things like gender imbalance, rising cost of living, looks inflation, consumer dating culture, dating fatigue, and overall distrust towards the opposite gender, decline in social skills amongst men in the Zoomer population can all be attributing factors towards why people are becoming single, we all know that the real reason is simply because the best dating show in history hasn't dropped a decent season in years. So I think in order to understand the current state of the dating market, we'll need to first begin simplifying the problem. And to achieve that, you can kind of think of the willingness to escape single life as a spectrum that you can stand on. For example, people who care about being single, and people who don't. With people who care about being single likely spending the most amount of time and effort to escape their current situation, whereas people who don't spend relatively much less effort and urgency to escape. For example, if Xiaoming, sitting at one end of the spectrum, cares a lot about being single, then he may potentially be willing to spend up to 300,000 yuan a year just to sign up to a VIP diamond tier matchmaking service in hopes that he'll be introduced to the perfect woman. He knows that statistically speaking, the chances of finding a good and successful match in the short run is very low. But he does it anyways because he fears nothing. Then Xiaohong, sitting on the other end of the spectrum, who is generally unbothered or nonchalant about being single, would more likely find the idea of meeting someone naturally by spending most of her time in social or hobby circles she enjoys to be the right play. But we all know the real intellectual powerhouse here is actually Xiao Wang, who would just have his mom cross-post his stats in the City Square marriage market and all relevant social platforms and wait for the results to come in themselves. And of course, when we're on the topic of dating and marriage and parental influence, the same research that we talked about earlier, the one
meta is crazy,
Shanghai, suggests that parental pressure is still one of the biggest influencing factors when it comes to shaping children's views on dating and marriage. Now, this is actually a good statistic to have because now we can factor in parental pressure as a key driving point in the phenomenon we see in Chinese dating market today. For example, people who care about being single with parental pressure is more likely to participate in matchmaking and other fast-track dating methods because they have a much greater sense of urgency to escape single life and meet obligations. People who don't care about being single but have parental pressure on their backs could potentially either turn to dating apps or attempt to find meaningful personal connections through more organic routes like hobbies and friendship groups, or establish communities in order to find the right partner. But it does run the risks of having no urgency, which can lead to the individual spending the majority of their youth in semi-serious situationships that doesn't lead to fruitful outcomes in the long run. Now, people who don't care about being single with no parental pressure, how does it feel? But of course, at the end of the day, another great soft skill to have that translate into dating success is of course the ability to communicate your emotions clearly and concisely to the other party. So say what you mean. You'll do everyone a favor. And even though 62% of Chinese Gen Z respondents believe the concept of marriage is frightening, I think a tip that you can always remember to help you feel a little better is that how can you be scared of the concept of marriage when the issue of the singleness epidemic is not solved in the first place? Just so you know, if I'm found incapacitated in the streets after the release of this video, I probably deserved it. And of course, up to this point, there are people left that I haven't really covered, and these are what I like to call outliers of the dating market. Because whilst the singleness epidemic is a standard issue across dating market participants, it doesn't necessarily affect everybody to the same degree. Some people are drowning in love while others are drowning in loneliness. I mean, you're both technically drowning, but only one of them actually wants to die. So from the male side of the outlier spectrum, we have people who can successfully pull off the Jackson Wang haircut. In fact, the whole spectrum might as well just be called how much do you look like Jackson Wang on a scale of 1 to 10. 1. 10 is single because he's literally Jackson Wang, and dating will only negatively affect his generational run. On the female side of the spectrum, and perhaps the true apex predators of the whole dating market, who's never really suffered from the singleness epidemic, is the tier 1 city rich single auntie with no kids. And whilst the individual's initial reaction to entering this kind of relationship may be to question whether or not it's actually real love, the feeling will quickly fade away after a few sips of your $15 milk tea riding shotgun in her Bentley Continental. Now, despite being on top of the food chain, there are still issues that plague the Ivy League equivalent of daters within the Chinese dating market, and that is the concept of expectation to reality. And this essentially just refers to how many people that actually exist in the population that satisfies your criteria. For example, if you're satisfied with somebody with an ordinary job, not too ugly, and has the ability to support a family, that's approximately 80% of the population. If you're looking for an attractive and well-established individual with a high-paying private sector job and a well-established social circle, the figure then sits at roughly 10%. If you're looking for a bilingual, well-groomed man with wealth, power, and status so untouchable even celebrities cannot hold a candle to him, please feel free to submit your application to the State Council. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Okay. Xi Jinping. You know he's pulling. You know Xi's on the apps. Tearing it up. Funny vids. Jigao, check them out. Those are funny. Okay, I think I'm going to watch a little Smallville, actually, after that stream. That was fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for enjoying. And we're going to watch an ep of... Last one was the funniest, worst acted episode I've ever seen. It cracked me up. I don't know how you topped that last episode. It was cinema. Cars exploding. Terrible line delivery. All right. This one's called Visage.